From downtown Detroit, Local 4 News at noon starts now.
It was this day 16 years ago. America changed forever. Smoke billowing from one of the towers of the World Trade Center and flames and debris exploding from the second tower. A plane also slamming into the Pentagon, while brave souls aboard a plane diverted terrorists crashing into a Shanksville, Pennsylvania field. And today, President Trump addressed those horrifying attacks and the military response.
America does not bend. We do not waver. And we will never, ever yield. So here at this memorial, with hearts both sad and determined, we honor every hero who keeps us safe and free.
More on how America is remembering the almost 3,000 lives lost. Plus, Hurricane Irma rattles lives from the Caribbean to Florida, and now a tropical storm continuing to rage on. More on Irma's path now and the devastation it's left behind.
The worst of Irma is over, and now it's time to clean up. And we here in Michigan are contributing mightily. We'll tell you how.
Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us. Hurricane Irma does top our news this noon. More than 6 million people now are without power in Irma's as it lashes through Florida and heads north into Georgia and Alabama. It's now classified as a tropical storm, and it's left behind a trail of destruction after hitting Florida's west coast overnight and the Florida Keys over the weekend. What you're now looking at is Jacksonville, Florida, about 1 block off St. Johns River. You're also looking at the radar showing the path of that storm now. Sarah Rosario is in Miami with a look at conditions there.
Weakening in strength, Irma continues its churn through Florida, packing a powerful punch as it pushes through the panhandle. Entering the state as a Category 4, the Keys took the first hit from the storm. Hurricane force winds ripping away roofs, testing the limits of everything in its path to the mainland. Toppling cranes in Miami and Fort Lauderdale, and flooding streets. Then, a phenomenon sometimes called hurricane bulge occurred, temporarily sucking the water out to sea, stranding 2 manatees in Sarasota.
1, 2, 3, up.
And our own NBC's Carrie Sanders helped rescue stranded dolphins near Marco Island.
Gotta rescue.
While Irma made a second landfall near Marco Island, neighboring Naples took the brunt of the storm. Mayor Bill Barnett on the Today Show this morning.
It's hard to describe. The water was just swirling around. Rain was coming in so hard that you could barely see out of the window, and it was scary.
Very, very lucky.
Residents in the Tampa area waking up grateful their homes were spared.
I was expecting water.
Millions without power, likely thousands waking with severe damage to their homes as Irma refuses to release its hold on the Sunshine State. With power out for most of South Florida, people are being asked to stay off the roads. Not many stoplights are working. For now, a nighttime curfew will remain in place while local crews are able to get out and take a look at some of the damage. Reporting in Miami, Sarah Rosario, NBC News.
Sarah, thank you. We're also showing you some drone footage. This is the beautiful city of Naples and what it looks like now. All the trees down. You can see a lot of destruction in the wake of the storm. Let's get over to Brandon. He is tracking the storm's path now. We know it's been downgraded, but it's still dropping a lot of rain and heavy winds, Brandon.
It certainly is one to watch here, no doubt about it. This is radar that we are taking from down south and mainly moving out of Florida now, but soaking South Carolina and Georgia over into Alabama as well. And the winds are an issue. Still could get a few small tornadoes spinning up with this storm as it moves out of Florida and into South Carolina and Georgia. Current wind gusts in the Gainesville area about 44 miles an hour. Jacksonville 55-mile-an-hour wind gusts. These are damaging wind gusts. As you look over toward Macon, Georgia, 52, 44 in Augusta, Charleston, South Carolina, seeing 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And this tropical storm has 65-mile-an-hour winds right around the center of it, heading up toward Atlanta, between Birmingham and Atlanta through the late afternoon and evening. And Rhonda, it does impact our weather. I'll take a closer look coming up.
All right. And we'll see you here in a few. In the meantime, the hurricane relief efforts begin again in earnest. This time it's Florida, and Michigan's National Guard is right in the thick of it. Let's get to Local 4's Rod Maloney joining us now live this noon time at Selfridge Air National Guard Base, and they are going to be deploying some folks down south.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning. Good afternoon, Rhonda. You know, it's a situation where the state of Michigan has become sort of a staging area for relief efforts to go down to Florida, up at Camp Grayling and then here at Selfridge Air National Guard Base. An 8-man crew battened down the gear inside a massive CH-47 Chinook heavy lift helicopter as the sun rose. They did the pre-flight check and a briefing too.
I'm still planning on going to Raleigh-Durham. Weather looks good.
They'll back up their fellow guardsmen and women along the I-5 corridor north of Orlando, delivering food or water. The Chinook can carry 30 people at a time, generators, even vehicles if necessary. Chief Warrant Officer Tim Miller pilots the twin prop.
If it fits in the door in the back, we can carry it. If it doesn't, we carry it underneath with slings and hooks underneath. So obviously we'll be providing operational support the best we can.
The chopper flies at 125 knots or 130 miles per hour. They'll arrive in Florida tomorrow after an overnight stop in North Carolina. It takes about 4 hours to get there. Now they're going to join National Guard units from Iowa, Minnesota, Pennsylvania, and Connecticut in offering assistance. And there's no rest for the weary here. The Selfridge crews also went to Texas for Harvey. Chinook pilot and National Guard Major Jeremy Barnard told us the Harvey trip affected him greatly.
To see that type of devastation, you know, right in front of you, you can see pictures, you can see video, but when you really see what's going on, it sinks your heart a little bit.
But he says serving is a great thing, especially when you're doing it at home. In the meantime, we're going to see 4 differing units from Detroit, Wyoming, Dowagiac, and Cadillac heading up to Camp Grayling. They stage there today. First thing in the morning, they leave. If you're on an I-75 around noontime tomorrow, you're likely to see them heading toward Florida. Reporting live in Mount Clemens, Rod Maloney, Local 4.
Oh, I know they'll appreciate the support down there in Florida. And this week, Local 4, we are teaming up with the American Red Cross and Art Van Furniture for our Help for Hurricane Relief Telethon. It takes place tomorrow. This local relief effort has already, though, raised thousands of dollars for the storm victims in Texas. And now we turn our attention to the storm victims in Florida. So we hope that you can take some time and call in and make a donation. It's tomorrow, September 12th, from 6 in the morning until 8 p.m. We'll be here answering phones. And Local 4 is on top of some more breaking news in Michigan politics this noon. Two-term Congressman Dave Trott has announced that he will not run for re-election next year. The Republican congressman represents the 11th district, which includes portions of western Wayne and southern Oakland counties. Trott says that he wants to spend time with family and return to the private sector. The man arrested in Friday's high-speed police chase was arraigned this morning. Pictured here, 22-year-old Duran Deshawn Sherrard is fleeing with resisting arrest and 3 counts of possession of a controlled substance. Sherrard remains in custody where he is being held on a $75,000 bond. Pretrial is set to begin on September 18th. Sherrard is also the suspect in a separate shooting. No charges have been announced in that case just yet. Somber ceremonies are taking place today at the 3 sites of the terror attacks on September 11th of 2001. A giant American flag was unfurled at the plane crash site at the Pentagon outside of Washington. Vice President Mike Pence took part in ceremonies at the crash site in Shanksville, Pennsylvania, and New York City marked a moment of silence at the site of the Twin Towers crashes between 16 years ago today. President Trump traveled to the Pentagon this morning to take part in 9/11 memorial ceremonies there. In his remarks, the president paid tribute to the men and women who lost their lives when terrorists used a jetliner to crash into the Pentagon.
That September morning, each of those brave Americans died as they had lived, as heroes, doing their duty and protecting us and our country. We mourn them, we honor them, and we pledge to never, ever forget them.
Earlier, the president presided at a brief and simple ceremony at the White House. The city of Sterling Heights commemorated the 16th anniversary of September 11th in a special ceremony that honored first responders. City officials, along with the public, gathered together at City Hall this morning. Flags are being flown at half-mast today at all city facilities. So to come here at noon, Pope Francis speaks out on President Trump's decision to end DACA, what he has to say about that. Also ahead, making moves. The U.S. calls for a new and stronger United Nations response to the crisis created by North Korea's weapons program. And we are continuing to track Hurricane Irma, which has now been downgraded to a tropical storm as it pushes through Georgia, Alabama. These are live pictures from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. The historic storm has triggered record flooding in Florida's northeast regions. Irma's wrath has left more than 6 million businesses and homes without power, and over 200,000 people are in shelters in Florida, as now no deaths have been reported.
My dog.
Welcome back. A new, stronger United Nations response to the crisis created by North Korea's weapons program could come later today. The U.S. is calling for a vote today in the UN Security Council on watered-down U.S. proposal. Gone are U.S. demands for a ban on oil sales to North Korea and a freeze on the international assets of North Korea. The change came after U.S. negotiations with China, which is North Korea's major trade partner. North Korea says that the U.S. would pay a heavy price if the sanctions are approved. Tensions boil over in the nation's Pacific Northwest at a pair of demonstrations that got pretty rowdy. In Washington state, the driver of this black pickup drove right through a crowd of Antifa demonstrators. Thankfully, no one was injured. The driver was not charged. In Portland, Oregon, a peaceful protest turned chaotic when members of a conservative group arrived and intervened. 2 people were arrested in the altercation. And the Pope is weighing in on President Trump's decision to rescind DACA. Pope Francis said on Sunday, if the president is a good pro-lifer, he should understand family is the cradle of life and its unity must be protected. The Pope acknowledged that he was not familiar on the specifics of DACA, but says that he's hopeful that it will be rethought. The president fired back at the Pope's comment, saying no religious leader should question another man's faith. Still to come here at noon, a dramatic rescue that played out on live television this morning right here on Local 4 after a dolphin was found stranded on land. And this was all because of Hurricane Irma. We're going to have more on the rescue of that dolphin coming up next. And Brandon has a look at our forecast both here and wherever Irma's headed next.
We have them both on the map here, and one will eventually impact the other. We do have a warmer week. You ready for some 80s? At least a chance? We'll take a look next.
I wasn't sure.
Welcome back, everybody. A dramatic rescue played out live this morning on the Today Show after this dolphin was actually found stranded on a street near a beach. NBC reporter Carrie Sanders was covering Hurricane Irma when he discovered this baby dolphin that a man had found on the street trying to get it back in the water on Florida's coast.
Yeah, the guy said he found it on a sidewalk, but Sanders and a group of strangers braved the waves to help take the dolphin back to sea. And just when they thought their work was done, they found another one, and they think that the same one also kept coming back or getting washed up by the waves, not strong enough to fight through it. So the second one, though, was even bigger. The group banded together again to carry the dolphin safely to the ocean. That storm surge, 3 to 5 foot storm surge in the area. That means how much higher the sea level is there along the shore than normal. And that's a hefty amount, flooding those living just inland and creating havoc for the cities, for aquatic life, you name it. Storm surge was one thing. We had some rain estimates of about 12 inches and some pretty strong wind as well. Right now it's rain and wind that we're watching, and storm surge could still be an issue here as we head into Savannah, Georgia. Also Charleston, South Carolina, Hilton Head, Myrtle Beach, all right there. And on the backside of this, everything's sort of going offshore, so we might even get some reverse storm surge across the panhandle of Florida, where the water gets taken out to sea instead of coming in. But here's a look at some of the peak wind gusts that we saw from Irma over the weekend. In Naples, 142-mile-an-hour wind gust recorded. Marco Island, 130. Miami Beach, 91-mile-an-hour wind gust observed there. Jacksonville, about 86. In Gainesville, Florida, 61-mile-an-hour wind gusts. Here's a look at the current situation and what we're seeing. Charleston, 47. Again, these winds coming straight in off of the Atlantic as you head up to Augusta, Georgia, 44. Macon seeing wind gusts 50 to 60 miles an hour. 55 in Jacksonville still, and problems from North Florida into the Carolinas. Parts of Alabama today will get soaking rains. Can't rule out an isolated tornado or two. The friction from these strong storms that they're moving a little bit quicker now from southeast to northwest at about 17 miles an hour. 65-mile-an-hour winds swirling around Tropical Storm Irma now. And by later today, this could be downgraded to a depression, but the model says as of this evening, still a tropical storm, and then into tomorrow, a depression. We think we're going to get a little debris cloud cover from this as we head into tomorrow, and we're already seeing a little of that today, but also we are looking at some rain chances Wednesday morning. Right now, we've got temps near 70, and we're on our way to 75 degrees. 76 tomorrow, those high clouds coming from Irma. And again, Rhonda, Wednesday morning, shower chances from Irma. Shouldn't be real heavy, but it's our best chance all week, so we'll take it.
Yeah, we will. Nice looking week. We'll be right back. Well, we are almost out of time this noon, but I think a lot of folks are just thankful we don't have to talk about a hurricane coming for a change. It's been like this for the last few weeks.
There's still Jose out there.
Is it?
Let us not forget. But Irma down to a tropical storm, and Jose probably not a huge threat for us.
Hope not. All right. Thanks for being with us, everybody. Have a great Monday.